Some nights I wake up in cold sweats, and don't look at me like that, man. It ain't the heroin. A lot of vets come down with this and they don't know what it is. Dead Presidents moves like a slow squeeze. It opens in Vietnam, with young men trying to stay human under the noise, then cuts hard back home where the color drains and the future shrinks. The film treats Vietnam like Chapter 1 and America like the war that never stopped. By the time the stockings go on and the cash finally hits their hands, it does not feel like a score. It feels like a trap closing one siren away from silence. Even the title carries the warning hiding in plain sight. The faces on the bills look like freedom until they start owning you. Anthony Curtis was rooted in real life, which is why The Fall hits harder than fiction. A darker cut existed too, rougher and more violent, pushed closer to the edge than most people ever saw. These are 10 weird facts about dead presidents. Number 1. This story doesn't start as a crime plot. It starts as a pattern. A black kid goes to Vietnam. He comes home expecting normal life to resume. Instead, the country moves on without him, and the future gets smaller by the day until the only doors that open are the wrong ones. The Hughes brothers didn't invent that arc. They built Anthony Curtis as a composite shaped from real black Vietnam veteran experiences rather than one single biography. One major influence was Haywood T. Kirkland, a veteran who served in Vietnam, returned to economic hardship and disillusionment, and later got pulled into armed robbery. The details aren't copied one-to-one, but the tunnel is the same, and the foundation went deeper than one man. The brothers dug into first-hand testimony, especially Bloods and oral history of the Vietnam War, letting real voices shape the psychology of the film. That's where the movie's core idea locks in. 2 wars, one fought overseas, one fought at home. The second war doesn't come with medals or uniform. It comes with unemployment, racism, untreated trauma, and silence. Anthony isn't meant to feel like one guy. He's meant to feel like a generation getting processed, first by the war, then by the country that pretended the war was over. Number 2. The war doesn't just rearrange Anthony's life, it rewires the way the world looks around him, and you can track it without a single caption. Before Vietnam, everything still has warmth in it. The colors are brighter and more saturated, like there's still air in the future. Even when life is rough, the image carries a glow that says something could still work out. Then Vietnam hits and the camera turns restless. The look gets sweatier and harsher with handheld movement and a grainier, frantic feel that makes combat look unstable instead of heroic. The frame jitters like it can't hold steady because nothing in that environment is steady. When the story comes home, the warmth is gone. The palette drops into cold blues and grays, draining the streets until the city feels hollow. Same blocks, same people, different temperature. You can feel the second war starting the moment the first one ends. As the world fades from vibrant to cold, the only color that ends up mattering in Anthony's life is the green of the money, the dead presidents he's desperate enough to steal. Number 3. You expect Lorenz Tate to come in hot. That's what Menace trained people to brace for. This film doesn't give you that. It puts him in the center and makes him carry the weight without shouting. The Hughes brothers cast him as Anthony Curtis, the moral spine, and then gave him the hardest assignment in the story: change on screen without looking like you're doing change. Anthony starts with hope in his posture, the kind of teenager who still believes effort gets rewarded. Vietnam strips that out. Then home finishes the job, not with one big dramatic break, but with a slow tightening, like life keeps closing doors until the only options left are the wrong ones. Tate sells it without the usual tricks. No heavy prosthetics, no flashy aging makeup. The transformation is all in small physical choices that stack up quietly until you suddenly realize you're watching a different man. His eyes stop drifting and start locking. His shoulders sit heavier. His body moves like it expects consequences. Even in silence, he looks like he's carrying years. Menace introduced him as intensity. Here, he proves he can play restraint, carry a full life arc, and let you watch a person break without ever signaling the moment ahead of time. Number 4. Skip enters the story like a man who can't stop moving. The jokes don't land, the smile doesn't settle, the energy keeps firing even when nothing is funny because it isn't confidence, it's panic with a voice. That casting wasn't obvious at the time. Chris Tucker was known for speed and volume, the kind of performer people used when they wanted a room to light up. Dead Presidents takes that same speed and points it somewhere darker. Skip isn't written as relief, he's written as a warning. The guy who shows you what the war and the streets do to a person once the uniform is gone and the damage has nowhere to go. Tate plays him like someone unraveling in public. The voice is still high and quick, but now it shakes. The body is still restless, but now it looks hunted. Even in silence, he feels like he's vibrating, like his nerves never got permission to shut off. When Skip talks, it isn't charm, it's need. When he laughs, it doesn't release pressure, it exposes it. The film never lets you treat him like a comic guy doing drama. It makes you watch the energy turn into desperation and the charm turn into survival behavior. Skip doesn't make the movie lighter, he makes it harder. Number 5. The Vietnam footage feels real because it's sweaty and claustrophobic. Thick green walls, swampy ground, the kind of jungle where you can't see 10 feet in front of you. Most people assume they flew somewhere exotic to get that look. They didn't. Those combat sequences were filmed in Florida on Lee Ranch in Chulioli, a former celery farm. The land did the heavy lifting, with palmetto thickets, wet ground, and dense growth that closes in around the camera. The crew cleared paths through it, dressed it, and let the natural mess sell the humidity. So when Vietnam feels like it's choking the frame, that's Florida pretending to be Southeast Asia and pulling it off. New York was the opposite problem. You can fake a jungle if you find the right terrain, but you can't fake New York the same way, and shooting there is where budgets go to die. Alan Hughes later joked that in New York you get screwed, you get no deals because every day costs more than you think it will. Permits, police, logistics, time, it stacks fast. Fast enough that a movie people talk about as around $10 million can feel like it's burning through that kind of money just trying to exist in New York long enough to get the shots. Vietnam was a smart location cheat. New York was real and the city charged full price. Number 6. This movie doesn't use music to decorate scenes. It uses music to tell you what year you're in, what mood the neighborhood is in, and what's happening inside Anthony even when he isn't speaking. That's why the soundtrack is stacked with 1970s soul and funk legends like James Brown, Aretha Franklin, Al Green, and Curtis Mayfield. Those songs already carry weight before the scene even starts because those voices come with history baked into them. When they hit, the film doesn't feel like a period piece trying to prove its period. It feels like memory. The tracks don't float in randomly, they lock onto emotion. When life still has light in it, the music feels alive. When pressure tightens, the grooves feel heavier, like the joy is still there, but it's bruised. It becomes a second narrator, pushing feeling into scenes without turning the characters into speechmakers. In the 1990s, a lot of that same soul and funk was getting sampled by major rappers, so the soundtrack connects two eras at once. It sounds like Anthony's world in the 70s and also like the DNA of the decade the film was released in. Old records feeding new streets in one continuous line. The soundtrack even earned 2 separate volumes, which is rare for a drama this heavy. This isn't just good music, it's the film's time machine. Number 7. The movie isn't R-rated for fun. It's R-rated like it barely survived being smothered. Early cuts pushed hard enough to flirt with an NC-17. Once you land there, it's not a debate about taste. It's a fight over whether the movie gets released in theaters at all. The Hughes Brothers played the negotiation the way stubborn filmmakers do when they don't want the point softened. They pushed first. They sent a cut that was too much. The MPAA demanded reductions. Then the directors trimmed back just enough to keep the R while keeping the movie pressed right up against the edge. That's why the theatrical violence feels so blunt. It hits and moves on because it's trying to hurt without getting the whole film locked out of distribution. A rougher version still exists, though. The Criterion Collection Laserdisc preserved extra content that never became standard viewing, including a reconstruction of the armored car robbery with extra seconds of impact and ultimate angles, plus deleted scenes that add context the theatrical cut doesn't. Those pieces never followed the film onto modern formats, leaving the hardest version of Dead Presidents sitting on an old disc most people can't even play anymore. Number 8. The heist is the scene everyone remembers, but it isn't remembered for the guns or the money. It's remembered for the faces. That hard white paint turns the robbery into something unreal, like ghosts walking into an armored car instead of men. It strips the crew of normal identity and replaces it with something unnatural. The Hughes brothers didn't want the robbery to feel cool. They wanted it to feel wrong. The film never hands you a clean explanation either. There are plenty of interpretations online, but no solid quote from the directors confirming one single meaning. Some viewers see survival, the idea that black veterans had to perform versions of themselves to move through America and felt invisible after returning. Others see a distorted mirror, forcing the audience to watch violence through a face that isn't supposed to be there, making the act confrontational instead of entertaining. The film leaves the symbol open, so the image keeps following you long after the heist ends. Number 9. People sometimes talk about Albert and Alan Hughes like they were kids who stumbled into a studio film.